Welcome to Haxby Shed. Mostly my channel is about engineering or technical subjects, but just occasionally I'll include something of interest beyond those. This is Robin Hood's Bay in North Yorkshire, England. It's an old fishing village nestling in a very steep ravine coming down to the sea from the moors all around. And these old cottages used to be occupied by fishermen and their families who fished off this shore in cobble boats. But as steam trawlers became common, the industry died out, and these days these cottages are mostly let out to holidaymakers. We've been coming on holiday to Robin Hood's Bay for about 40 years, and my wife's family have been coming a lot longer than that. And people would say to us, "Where are you going on holiday this year? Somewhere special, France, Spain, America?" And we'd say, "No, we're going to Robin Hood's Bay." And they go, "Why? It's just a lot of rocks and not much sand." But they don't understand there's so much here. And all of our wider family would come here. They still do. And we'd have up to 45 people here, staying in many different cottages. And it was just such simple fun. And the children would run around between our families. We'd catch up with all the news. And we continue to do this every year. And we'd stay in August for 1 week or 2 weeks. So it's Sunday morning at 8:15. All very nice, quiet. That promontory over there is called Ravenscar. And these mud cliffs are moving back quite rapidly. I'm not sure how much, but let's say a metre a year, quite a lot. And hundreds of houses in the village had fallen into the sea until a sea wall was built in the 70s. This is King Street. This used to be the main street down to the dock, but in the late 1700s, I think, there was a big storm and 22 houses and the road fell into the sea. It must have been very scary for these houses before the sea wall was built. The promontory over there going out to the right is called Nest Point and forms the other side of the bay. This is an old chapel which is now a cafe. This is called Chapel Street because the building immediately to my right here is the chapel. So we've just come round to the other side of it. And we can look down into the ravine where King's Beck flows down, hidden mostly by the trees here. And the houses follow the line of the steep slopes down to this ravine with the beck. And that is the old bakery chimney and old bakery, which is now a cafe. So we're looking down onto New Street, which was the road that was built after King Street fell into the sea. When you see pictures of Robin Hood's Bay, you'll often see this shot with the cottage on the corner there. It's called the Openings. And it's just a pathway that goes to the top of the hill towards the left, or it goes to more cottages towards the right. And those cottages further up are just on the cliff edge, and they lead to some of the oldest parts of Robin Hood's Bay. This is one of the oldest streets in the bay, and you can see this room precariously just supported by a pillar And that's because the house to the left has fallen down the bank into the sea many, many years ago. The sign on the door of this house says 1660. Now we're near the top of the old village, and further up the hill is a Victorian estate which was built around the time the railway came in 1885. The railway is disused now. Very few people live in the old village in the winter, but people do live up there in the Victorian estate all year round. So I've threaded my way along to New Road, which is a very steep bank, 1 in 4. And not too many years ago, when cars were not so technically good as they are today, it was a great worry for burnt out brakes on the way down and burnt out clutches on the way up, and many a car would get stuck. There's a lovely view of the beach there between the houses. At the bottom of the bay, many of the cottages were little more than hovels originally, and would have been really unpleasant to live in. Very small houses, big families, lots of fish drying outside, very smelly. But as the community grew a bit richer, bigger houses began to appear further up the bank, and these were the grander houses where the sea captains would live, perhaps people who owned several boats, leaving the poorest people down at the bottom. This is the bottom end of New Road, which leads to the dock where I started this journey, but I'm going to take these steps which lead up to the cottage where we're staying. The steps lead up between the cottages, making twists and turns as we go, and we need to go up another flight yet. And this is where we are this year. We've stayed in dozens of these cottages over the years. Just a shot down to the sea from our cottage, with Ravenscar there in the background. This is the downside of holidays on the Yorkshire coast. So it was bright sunshine this morning when I took the video, and now it's not. But it's a good view of where King Street on the right and New Road on the left converge just ahead of the dock. Rain again. Well, not half an hour ago it was pouring with rain, and now it's bright hot sunshine again. Sunshine and threatening clouds. We're on a walk from Robin Hood's Bay to Ravenscar over there, which we do every year, at least once. It's about 4 miles. On our way down into Stoop Beck, having already gone over the top from Boggle Hole, and then we'll climb up the cliff path, and join the path that runs along the top of the cliffs and up the steep bank to Ravenscar. Stoop Beck. Hello, horse. This pillbox is slowly falling into the sea, but when I say slowly, it's more like the end. Some bit falls off and goes in, and then a while later some more bits fall off and go in. That's looking back towards Robin Hood's Bay, of course. Now that the tide's gone out a fair bit, people are walking out onto that flat piece to the left, which is called Peak Steel, because you get a lot of seals on there. And then maybe if they're walking to Robin Hood's Bay, they walk round the bay below me and then onto Robin Hood's. When the tide is out, it reveals a very broad platform where the rocks, which are called scars, run out in bands. And there are two places where streams come down to the beach, Stoop Beck and Boggle Hole, and we're going back that way to Robin Hood's Bay via Stoop Beck. On the beach there are very high mud and shale cliffs, and as I pan round you can see Robin Hood's Bay there in the distance and Ness Point, going round to Ness Point.
Get rid of some stuff right here. I need some stuff. Put long sleeves on top.
No, I think you won't.
No.